Yeah, so I mean, the church, like any corporation, does not want people to take power into their own hands. They don't want to say, like Martin Luther had during the Reformation, had this really neat saying called, "We're all, the church is a priesthood of all believers." So there's no priest between you and God. You're your own priest. You can have that direct understanding. You know, that was the good thing about the Reformation. I mean, they did a lot of, the Protestant churches ended up doing a lot of crimes too against people. But they started with this really good idea, this rejection of the hierarchical notion of religion, in that there's God here and humanity here, and you need an intermediary, which just happens to be us.
Yeah.
That was the Roman imperial idea. Okay, the Roman Empire became the Catholic Church. Instead of the emperor was seen as Pontifex Maximus, which means the great bridge builder. That's what it means in Latin. The bridge between the gods and humanity. The Pope took over that title. He's called Pontifex Maximus, and he took over the Roman Emperor's title, and again sees himself as the intermediary between God and humanity. He believes that about himself.
Yeah.
If I believe that about myself, that'll lock me away, right? But he can do that because there is the whole history justifying that, and they needed an ideology that goes along with that, which says, I mean, think of any mainline Christian church operates according to this belief. You need us, or you're not going to be saved. Well, you need to be saved in the first place, and I question that whole notion of sin, original sin and the fall and everything. But you can't do it on your own. You're disabled. You need to disable people, and that's what every residential school did. That's what every Catholic orphanage and school does. I mean, it's what our education system does. It disables us and makes us feel that we're not adequate in ourselves. We always have to be looking to an expert. Yeah. We always have to be looking to somebody to save us. Write a letter to your member of parliament. I mean, we're not sufficient. And in our movement, we're always running up against that mental barrier in people saying, well, what can we do?
Yeah.
Everything. We can do everything. I mean, one person, I'm living proof of that. I was just this minister working in Port Alberni, but I've just been consistent for 15 to 20 years, and I haven't given up. And look at the impact it's had. Imagine 100 of us doing that, or 1,000, 10,000. The whole system would fall apart.
Yeah.
And we just have to recover ourselves first.
Yeah.
Say we have the power to do this. Yeah. And that's something that was actually the message in the original Jesus message. He said the kingdom of heaven is within you.
Yeah.
It's not in the church. He didn't talk about a church. He said it's within all of us.
That's right.
And it's that liberation of that of ourselves from this mental slavery we're taught.
Yeah.
That's the real promise, I think, of everything we're doing. I mean, that's what I think.
You talked about the Gospel of John. Do you think his story of Jesus was based on previous civilizations?
Yeah.
Sort of like I'm thinking of like in Babylon. They had Nimrod, Tammuz, and Ishtar, or Queen Semiramis.
Isis in Egypt. Osiris.
Yeah. So do you think it was based on that?
Absolutely. They borrowed. I mean, they ripped off all of that from other religions. In that Catholicized version of the church based on John, none of it's original.
Yeah. It
was all being said before. It's universal, what Jung called archetypes in our consciousness, like these archetypal impulses in the human being for fear of death, desire for immortality, and equality and justice.
Yeah.
All of that is summarized in those myths when you think about it. The son of a virgin achieves mortality. He's like on a hero's quest. He dies and is resurrected and saves humanity through his blood. It's like Mithraism, the Osiris cult in Egypt. All over the world they have these beliefs.
Yeah.
So there's nothing unique in that at all. It's in the Orthodox Christian belief.
Talking about other religions, how do you see, what do you think the relationship is between the Catholic Church and other religions?
I don't think the Catholic Church is a religion. I think it's a political empire.
Right.
And it uses religion the way people wave a flag. But I know what you're saying, but it's always been a political power. And they admit that when the Pope calls himself a head of state and claims diplomatic immunity, they're acknowledging they're a political power.
Yeah.
They want the best of both worlds for tax purposes,
and
so they don't have to pay taxes, and they have that legitimacy, because
any
rule is based on legitimacy. It's not based on physical force. Any ruler in history has had to have legitimacy in the minds of themselves and in the people around them. That's the stability that's provided. You don't rule through force. I mean, when you look at the history of dictatorships, they're very short-lived. because they only rule in physical force. And that's why religion is essential to that legitimacy,
Yeah.
The relationship with other religions.
Yeah. I mean, such as the Jewish religion or Islam.
Well, they feel they're all
there's
false.
different factions, obviously, within those
Yeah.
religions.
They're false in the minds of the Catholic Church. They're all. Ratzinger said that soon after he became Pope. He said there's no salvation outside the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
He still believes that.
Yeah.
And so, and he believes that about Protestant Christians too. It isn't just non-Christians. It's any Christian who isn't a Catholic is in the same category as a Muslim or a pagan or anybody you want to think of.
Yeah.
They're all in the outer,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny.
And would you say the other religions, such as Judaism and Islam, some factions within that feel that about themselves? They have this superiority, like
I wouldn't say, okay, within Islam definitely, because it's another universal religion. It says its aim is to convert the world to Islam. That was that set out for the Prophet to do that, and Islam was heavily influenced by Christianity, and especially that notion of it. As a matter of fact, in the Quran, they venerate Jesus, not as the Son of God, but as one of the people of the. They call Jews and Christians people of the book. They believe they're all reading out of the same book, but interpreting it differently. So in fact, Islam is far more tolerant. In history, it's been a far more tolerant force than Christianity has been. In the Crusades, Salah ad-Din and other Muslim leaders would continually pardon Christians. They'd let Jews and Christians worship in the same city as Muslims. Christians would just wipe out anyone they found, including a lot of Arab Christians who they found who they assumed were Muslim because they had funny clothes on, right? Just kill them.
And do you think that's to do with the Catholic Church attitude of
exclusivity and
you can kill other religions and
well, Richard Lionheart,
you'll go to heaven for it.
When he came to Acre in 1189, Richard of England, who we always venerate as this great guy, he didn't even speak English, by the way.
That's right. Yeah.
This is funny, like in all the films you've got Richard,
yeah.
he didn't speak a word of English.
Yeah.
He was French,
Yeah. Coeur de Lion.
Coeur de Lion, and he was killed stupidly, but anyway. He gets to Acre, the city surrenders, and he kills every man, woman, child in there. And there's a description of Richard wading through gore, going through the intestines of people looking for jewels that they might have swallowed. I mean, this is the the great Richard Lionheart. But it's that slaughter and butchery that the church justified, encouraged. Right? You don't find that in the Quran. You say one of the 5 precepts of Islam is you wage war against infidels, but that's being loosely applied and interpreted. And there's a political Islam, just like there's a political Judaism in Zionism, right?
Yeah.
When this becomes a political force in the world, anyone can interpret it to do, any fool in error can use scripture, as they say, right?
Yeah.
But I would say that applies to Islam and Christianity. They have that tendency that way. Christianity is definitely the worst in terms of just the level of violence and barbarism, but Judaism hasn't been like that. In fact, Judaism, before the foundation of Israel, was an insular religion. It believed that we're insufficient unto Himself. We don't have to convert people to Judaism because we're the chosen people. God's chosen us to be a sign in the world of purity. That was their understanding. You're not a political power in the world, and that's why there is such opposition still today among Jews about the state of Israel, because there isn't unanimity about that at all.
Yeah.
From Orthodox Jews and that, they're opposed to. They're anti-Zionist, definitely.
Yeah. How do you view the Zionists? The sort of political Jews, if you like. Even though you don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist, you just have to believe in the state of Israel to be a homeland for the Jews. How do you view them and their relationship with the Vatican and our own monarchy and the sort of monarchy bloodlines of Europe? These people. How do you see behind the scenes these people all getting on, or are they against each other?
It's funny how institutions engaged in the same practices end up mirroring each other, because what Zionism is doing to the people in the Near East, exactly what Native people have been done to them in Canada. it's an apartheid system of legal apartheid.